our next speaker is Mozammel. Come on up, come on up. I think there's a sync problem here. Okay, so Mozammel is from Vantage and he's doing scaling Scrum, which is relatively similar to what Hassan was talking about. That's why they were having a discussion over there. Yep. Okay. Cool. So Mozammel, what's your position over there?
I'm development team manager of Vantage.
Cool. And to remind you all, Vantage is also co-sponsoring today's lightning talks along with Triplet Labs, Cost Software, Adaptive Enterprise, eGeneration, Software People, and M&H Informatics. Okay, Mozammel, it's all yours.
Thank you. I guess many of you will recall that I talked about Scrum on our Lightning Talks 2, and I want to continue on that topic. I want to talk about scaling Scrum, because at that time many of like project managers or team leads over here might have thought that okay, that this guy is doing Scrum, he might have a very small team, or he might have say like 7 to 8 people in his whole company, so let's not think about it. So it's really targeted towards that audience over here who think how we can scale Scrum and manage big teams, say like a team of 50 people, a team of 100 people, and how we can like leverage Scrum to that many people. So my background, as Sajadul Bhai has already told you, that I'm the development team manager of Vantage Haque, and I have been working with Scrum teams for quite a long time now. It's almost 3 years that I have been working with Scrum and Scrum related teams. So what is Scrum is like, just to recall it a little bit, like it's a proven agile process for software development and other creative teamwork. You can like take emphasis on this part, like other creative teamwork. Scrum mostly works with creative works like software development or some other creative works. Teams can also utilize Scrum process. And okay, so what's new in this in my talk is like, after using Scrum for more than 1.5 years on my last company, I feel that I can we feel the need to grow out, and we feel the need to scale our Scrum process a little bit. So my talk will be focusing on the local teams over here. I'm not going to talk all the enterprise things, enterprises URIs. I'm going to talk about on the context of Bangladesh over here. Like over here, we don't have very large number of people working in the same company, like 1,000 people or 5,000 people. So how can we practically scale Scrum? Very simple. We can do Scrum of Scrums. Okay, in a regular daily Scrum for a team, these are the questions that we generally address. I'm talking about the lower scale, like for a one single team that can consist of say like 5 to 9 members. So on a regular day-to-day basis, what do? We do a daily Scrum, and we ask what did you do yesterday and what will you do today, and is there any blockage or any impediment on your way of doing. So we prefer to have not to have any technical discussions on our daily Scrum meetings. That's the usual thing that we are pretty much used to. And if any technical discussions pops up in our daily Scrums, we try to like stop that, and that's actually kind of indication that there is some other dire need of some technical discussion that needs to be taken between the team in a rather different time box meeting. So how Scrum team forms? See, like a company can have around 5 Scrum teams, 10 Scrum teams, and how should we form the Scrum of Scrum teams? Is like each team selects their representative for SOS, that is Scrum of Scrums, and it is not necessarily the Scrum Master. The team can decide on which person will be best for them, who can represent their technical details to the larger Scrum. And usually the person is a technical contributor. If the number of team is small, say like there are 3 or 4 teams, they can send 2 representatives from the team. And Scrum of Scrum meeting is not necessarily to be done on a daily basis, but it can be done on a daily basis for distributed teams. Like ours is a distributed team over here in Vantage. So in Scrum of Scrum, what can we address? We can address like what has your team done since we last met? What will your team do before we meet again? is anything slowing down your team or getting in their way? And the last part is the new one. Are you about to put something in another team's way? Why this is important? For example, we have 7 teams working for a single product in 7 different modules, and one team suddenly decide to do some, do some drastical change in the code revisioning system. So like in the subversion, they do a very major change which hampers other teams. So these sort of things can be addressed on the Scrum of Scrums. And after talking about those topics, the Scrum of Scrum team can also have their own backlog, and they can talk about that backlog, and they can break it down, and they can assign tasks to each teams like that. And one important difference between the regular Scrum and the Scrum of Scrum is like, if there is a technical issue that pops up during the Scrum of Scrum meeting, it's better to address that technical issue on that larger Scrum, because if that technical issue can be solved in the larger Scrum, that technical issue might be useful for, say, like 20-something people or 50-something people, because if that can be solved, it's necessary to take time and solve it over there. Okay, I'm done. And is there any questions?
I have a question. Do I have to stand up?
No, you don't.
Okay.
It's difficult.
In the in the Scrum of Scrums, because in Scrum you're dividing basically each deliverable by separating it by sprints, correct?
In Scrum is actually made for putting all the teams in a same plate. So like 5 different teams are working separately, and after 2 weeks, each team selects a representative for their team to talk, and they talk with each other, and they share what they have done previously and what they are going to do. It's a collaborative effort to put all the teams in a same table.
But I'm saying, do they have to be in the same place? For example, one Scrum team has one sprint going on. Then 5 days later, another Scrum team starts another sprint. And so they're kind of in different places in their sprints.
It's not necessarily that they have to synchronize their sprints. No, they can have different time frame sprints running all together.
Well, okay.
Yeah, all they need to do is like they need to select representative from their team who can successfully represent their what they have done and what they are going to do, and is there any technical blockage that is hampering them from implementing their task from a team's point of view.
So we started this the other day at Taximetry, but you need to ask Hassan if they actually are doing it now, because I haven't been back since.
Yeah, I would love to hear it if you have any options or opinions.
So actually, what we have actually, we call it multi-branch sprint. But I mean, what you are trying to point, the Scrum of Scrum is actually you have to separate Scrum, the team, and are they working on the same project? They're sharing the same project, or
not in our company at this moment.
Right now, the separate.
Right now,
we were discussing about. I mean, in some way, actually, we used to follow LORS. LORS is a management framework. LORS is 3 months basis iterative thing. So thing was like, I mean, every team, product team, one representative was supposed to come into the meeting. They will display these features will be implemented. Then during the 2 or 3 days meeting, during the LORS meeting, they will decide which features or which things has to be implemented. The product team will decide. I mean, the representative will take them to the product team, and then the product owner. I mean, a lot of this Scrum thing will happen. So in that case, actually, we use LORS on top of every Scrum. So I mean, he is actually pointing to separate project. So what we did in before actually, we are using the same project with multi-branch team. We have a new feature team, we have a core team, and we have a, the designing team. So they all have a some sprint started before, and we started after that certain time. But this is a different thing. But I mean,
even the Scrum obviously works, this framework, because it not necessarily you need to have the smaller teams in a synchronous format. They can have their own sprints in a different time frame, and they can just select the representatives, and they can have a different Scrum of Scrums.
What my point was actually like Scrum is better for when you have a separate project, or
not necessarily.
Or you can synchronize. Yeah. I mean, if you have a if you manage your, I mean, if you have a big software where you have several, departments, you could isolate them and make a separate Scrum for those particular modules. I think actually that's fine. Actually, around the agree.
In your slide, you are talking about something like there should be a backlog for that Scrum of Scrum.
There can be actually, not there should be. It's an optional.
So, I mean, what's the difference between if I call this just a coordination meeting, or I mean, that regular meeting is among the teams? It's actually a coordination meeting, or the Scrum meeting?
The regular meeting, like for the smaller teams.
Okay, I'm just what would be the difference? I mean, if say some small teams working on a particular project, so they need regular, I mean, coordination.
Okay, okay.
To,
that's then like if there are 5 or 6 small teams and they need a coordination. That's why the Scrum of Scrums is there for. Like the small teams, if they are individually doing Scrum, and they need to have a synchronization between say like 5 teams. What they can do, as I said, they can select representative. Not necessarily that representative needs to be the same person over and over again. They can select different representatives depending on the task that they have done from last time they met. And those representatives will have a meeting that is called Scrum of Scrums, and in that meeting they will share what they have, all the teams members have done so far, and if there are any such issues that needs to be resolved at that moment, they can also address some technical issues over there. You can.
Okay. Actually, my question is since I can imagine a scenario that we have a backlog, and it's more like a coordination meeting than actually a Scrum meeting.
It's a backlog means the backlog might be a larger, and from an abstract point of view of the product itself. So like if they are developing a single product altogether, it can be a abstract level of backlog that they can talk all together amongst the team who wants to take part in develop the next epic story. Yeah, I wanted to show us that it's a shameless plug over here because it's like at Vantage we are forming a new team over there. We are currently over there. We have 2 Scrum teams, and we are happily coding away, and we are looking for superstar developers, passionate programmers. So if any of you is interested, please, there is my email address. Drop an email, and we will get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, and big hand for Mozammel. His company was the sponsor, one of the co-sponsor, Vantage, along with Triplet Labs, CAS, software. It's very difficult to say all these names. Adaptive, E-Generation, Software People, and M&H. Yeah, I probably have to. That's why, So send him an email.